Now that you know how to find things in the library and how to position your elements within the scene, let's go ahead and build a scene from scratch. So I want to build a new scene here in level 1 of my game. I've got 4 scenes already. So I'm going to click on add scene here to add the 5th scene. Now, as you can see, I've already got my office, living room, bedroom, and bathroom. This scene, the first thing I have to do is choose where we are, what kind of background it is, what is our situation. Now, I know that there is this living room that looks a bit like a basement, and it's the one that I want. Here we go. So this is my scene ready to go. I'm going to call it basement. Remember that when naming your scenes, if you're using the map, your player will be able to see the names of the scenes from the map. So they need to have names that make sense. And for yourself as a creator, each scene needs to have a unique name so that you can identify which is which when you're using the change scene block. Here you can see that when we create a scene, we give it an initial state of active or inactive. We'll talk more about this in another video as well, but active scenes are accessible from the map if the map is configured, and the inactive scenes are not accessible from the map. There we have it. Now our scene is ready. We're going to add some elements into the scene. So the first kind of element that we're looking at is a character. Characters obviously are used to build your story, to give you a protagonist and an antagonist and a mentor and all of the different types of characters that you will have in your game. I'm going to look for a younger woman this time. I think this one will do. Yes. And I'm going to quickly position her in the scene. So we're going to move her a little bit closer to us, and we're going to turn her around because she's facing the wrong way. We're going to use the rotate, grab by this handle, and here she is to greet us into the scene. Now I think I'm gonna put her over here so that I can have somebody seated as well. Done. Each character should have a unique name so that you can identify them yourself. And characters have an initial state as well. And for now, we're going to leave her active and visible. The next type of element that we add is an object. Objects can be used simply, as we mentioned before, as set decoration to populate your scenes to make the storytelling more vivid. But they can also be used in your game if you want to create interactive games where somebody has to collect objects, combine objects, and use them for solving puzzles, for opening doors, for accessing the computer, whatever it might be later in the game. So as you can see, there are thousands of objects that I can choose from. So in my game, for example, I want them to find some secret files here in the basement. So I'm gonna look for a file. Here we can use this one. And I'm gonna position it just on the table. So here it is. That handy blue arrow shows me where it is, even if it's behind some of the elements. I'm gonna bring it over to the table, and I'm gonna move it up so that it's on the table. There we go. Stephen's secret file. There we go. Now, the next element that we can add into our scene, remember, for the add element button, we go to the scene that we want to add it into. And our next element is a poster. Posters are for adding 2D elements into the 3D space. A very common use for this is to add your company logo, for example, into an office scene. But you can also use it to put, for example, a sign on the wall that gives your player a piece of information that they need in their adventure. So just now I'm going to use this little logo image. Oops, we're going to go back to the in-game view. I'm going to grab that properly. Here we go. So it's going to come over here. I'm going to do some rotating. First, we're going to move it up to the height we want it. Very good. I'm going to rotate it. There we go. That should be about right. And I'm going to drag it back over to that wall. Well, I think I rotated it backwards. There we go. You can spend a little more time to position it perfectly, but for now that's okay. And this is our logo on the wall. All right, so the next element that we can add into a scene, the next two are a little bit different from the first three. The first three are physical elements that you add into the scene, characters and objects, and a 2D image if you want. A clickable area is an invisible element. Clickable areas serve to add interactivity to the background elements of the scene. So I'm going to show you one of the most common uses of this. Here is my clickable area. The most common use for this is for creating doors. So for example, I have this door in the background of the scene and I want to make this door clickable because when I click on this door, I want to move to another room. So in order to add this interactivity to an element that is part of the background that I've chosen for this scene, I simply put a clickable area in front of it and add the interactivity to the clickable area. So there I have my door is now clickable. And I give it a unique name. Clickable area, door 1. Now, I'm not finished because I want to click on this and I want something to happen. So here I have the clickable area, but I haven't built any building blocks onto it, so nothing is going to happen. What do I want to happen when I click on the door? I want to move to a new scene. So we'll go into detail on more of the building blocks later, but right now I'll just show you this building block, which we're going to use a lot, is the change scene block. I choose this building block. I give it a name. I'm going to call it Go to Office. And I want to point to the office. So as you can see, this is why my scenes need their unique names so that I can identify where I'm sending my character at this point in time. And that's it. Click on the door and I will be taken to the office. All right, let's look at our final element that we can add into a scene. It is the automatic trigger. So like we said before, any of the elements that we add into a scene can be the trigger for a flow of events, just like my clickable area is right now in this scene. When I click on it, it triggers the event of moving to the next scene. If I want something to happen as soon as a character arrives into a scene without that player having to interact with anything initially, I can create that flow, that series of events on this automatic trigger. I'm going to call this the welcome message. This automatic trigger will trigger immediately when I enter into the scene. So bear in mind that even though it's the last object that I've added into the scene, and it appears here last on the list, it is the first thing that is going to happen when a player arrives into this scene. So what do I want to happen? I want to show them a quick welcome to the basement message. For that, I'm going to use a simple notification. I'm going to call it welcome. I'm going to say welcome. Say hi, how are you? This is the basement. And on the button text, we're going to put a simple OK. That's a simple notification. Done. So, are we ready to preview our scene? I think we are. As you can see, my auto trigger has fired immediately when I arrive into the scene, and I'm looking directly at my welcome message. Hi, how are you? This is the basement, and my button text is okay. And you can see our finished scene with our character, our poster, and our file on the table.